H3 podcast is quite literally snark. So the main thing that like stands out to me here is that it raises questions about the boundaries between critique and harassment. That is what I think most accurately describes H3 podcast. Listen, the way that he talks about people is not just a critique about their character. Before the CPS thing, which I agree is deplorable, you know, if it is a false report, if it wasn't like a pediatrician or a babysitter or something, even before that, remember the tirade he went off, he spun out on denims? That was really crossing the line between like, okay, is this guy, does he have a real problem, or is he just letting out frustration?
Denims, by the way, was the real villain of the video. And I think that it went a long way to showing just what an evil, hateful fucking... And I'll say... Oh, no?
No,
not go there?
Don't invalidate
Okay,
yourself
let me
like
do
that.
this.
He can't help himself, and his crew has to reel him in and say, think of something else to say. What was he going to say? Because what he sees as the better option is calling her a B word or a C word. And by the way, I just want to say, it doesn't matter if you actually say the word or not, the B word or the C word, you're still calling that person that thing. Ethan Klein, women's advocate, progressive, the fuck out of here.
You can think of much worse things to say about her that are totally acceptable.
Like the C word?
No, I'm not saying no.
Does he see that as like a better option than what he was about to say? Because that is pretty vile. That's a pretty vile thing to say, if I'm not mistaken. And by that metric, I would say that this is a snark podcast.
Stupid.
She's a B and she's a C. Good.
I tried.
That's better, right?
He then goes into saying that he really wants to make a joke, you know, comedian Ethan Klein, but feels that maybe it's too offensive.
Ugh, I had such a funny joke, but I shouldn't say it. I'll write it in Discord. Don't read this one, Olivia.
I really want, just no, say the joke. Tell the class what the joke was. What were you about to say?
Popped in my head.
Yeah, no, God, no. That's an obvious no, massive no.
Oh my God.
It was just an image that popped in my head.
All right, let's move on.
But I can only imagine that if it was too bad to say on the show where he did a full pile, too offensive for that, what could it have been? How is this not snark? I mean, please.
So anyway, I responded. I was playing poker, actually, and I saw this punk ass needs to be put in his place. Said, shut your mouth. You're a terrible person, a complete phony. You called Trisha's daughter the spawn of Satan. Now you've promoted snark that calls CPS. You have the convictions of a wet noodle. You will do and say anything for clout. You are nothing more than a deranged snarker now, a pathetic little worm. Ela's a goddess, and you are a giant loser. Girl, bye.
Imagine this was posted from anybody else. Imagine it was just a random snarker. He stopped his poker match to go and post this. Remove it from Ethan for a second. That's exactly what it sounds like. Just says angry seethed. How can you be so tone deaf to not realize that you're engaging in the same exact behavior that you're accusing snarkers of?